What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be doing another live fantasy football mock draft on ESPN 12-person league with the caveat that this will be an auction draft. First one we are putting up so far this season. No problem, however. I've gotten a chance to do a couple of these, so hopefully it will be smooth sailing ahead. But quick reminder, if you haven't had the chance to get yourself a copy of the 2019 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Great value, can't beat it, got everything you could possibly want. So check out everything for that in the description. But getting back to this draft, as you can see, it is underway. We have had our first nomination, and we've got a decently full audience here drafting, about 5 or 6 individuals. We'll see if anyone joins in late. The first nomination, Patrick Mahomes, right at $21. That was the winning bid. I think there's a lot of other good quarterbacks when you compare the values, how much of a fall off there is from quarterback to quarterback, especially with Patrick Mahomes. He's by far the most expensive. And then you see a guy like Matt Ryan or an Andrew Luck at $6. So I think that's very telling. And I think the separation between quarterback 1, 2, and 3 won't be that large. So I have no problem paying a little bit less money for a quarterback. Saquon Barkley just went for $69. His projected value was $66. So just paying a little bit more so for that top-notch running back. That'll happen for these top 4 guys. And usually be ready to pay $2-3 more, especially when there's actual people bidding on these guys, because the computers for the most part will go up to the actual nominated price or $1 more, something like that. But usually when it's with other people, you could find yourself in a bidding war. But I will say the one nice thing about auction drafts is, compared to other snake drafts, if you do a mock there and it's mostly computers, it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. But with these auction drafts, it all comes down to budget management. So I actually think it's still pretty useful. And now just kind of looking at the value, Christian McCaffrey for $64, $63 I should say, was just one. So I mean, again, compared to his value, right around that, not a bad buy. And honestly, as far as auction drafts are concerned, I've been on record saying I think there's 3 ways to go ahead and approach it as far as strategies are concerned. So you could either be a little bit more aggressive, you could be more conservative, or you can try and be somewhere in the middle. Usually I'll fall between the aggressive and somewhere in the middle type of strategy, because I do think if you're conservative and you wait too long, you're going to miss out on that top flight talent. Just think about it. If this is a normal draft and you're picking somewhere between 1 and 12, if you don't get one of these top-notch guys in the auction format, you're pretty much forfeiting that first-round pick, which is obviously a big loss. So why would you do that in an auction draft? You want to get one of these first-round talents. And speaking of getting a first-round talent, I believe we did just that exactly by getting Alvin Kamara, $61 compared to his projected value. I think it was 65. So we got him for a good value. Now, I'm not sure whether that would have necessarily happened if it was full of other individuals that weren't computers. But either way, like I said, this will come down to budget management. This extra $5 or $6, it could end up being a bigger deal. We'll see. But as far as the core of the roster, we'll go through this and see how it shapes up. But so far, I really like the first pick. We got Alvin Kamara somewhat for a good price. He's going to be one of the top 4 running backs. In fact, he's actually the cheapest running back to go off the board at this point in time. In a PPR format, I'll take that all day. I'll consider that a win. And move on and look at other targets. As you can see, DeAndre Hopkins was nominated here. And I'm going to try and go ahead and get one more, top-notch player. Maybe 2 more, we'll see. As far as wide receivers that I like, DeAndre Hopkins just went for $57. Devontae Adams, $59. Julio Jones, $53. I like I like me a Juju Smith-Schuster for $46. I think that might be a decent target. I look at a guy like David Johnson, $48. Not too bad. Joe Mixon, $44. I think their production will be pretty similar. So we'll see who we end up targeting. I'm going to try and get one more RB1, take advantage of this auction type of format, and then we might be in a situation where we're left waiting on another player for a little bit longer until we're nominating again to really get the guy that we're targeting, because mostly the nominated guys are going to be the upper echelon players. So that's the one thing, when you kind of run out of funds, you have to wait until your nomination to nominate your top guy, and hope no one tries to um, you know kind of uh, start a bidding war where you're not in a situation to actually get the guy that you want. So again, from that strategy, from that mindset, it's something to be wary of. I see that Devontae Adams went for $49. That is a steal. I didn't even notice that while I was looking at some of these other players and scrolling down. That is a hell of a steal, considering DeAndre Hopkins went for 57, and I believe Devontae Adams' nominated price was 59. Wow, I I feel awful for not noticing that. That is something I should have paid a little bit closer attention to, but that's all right. That's why we do these mock drafts, to go ahead and prepare a little bit better for the real thing. Shame on me for not seeing it, but it's all right. Maybe there will be another great value pick here to begin with, but just don't expect it in your actual drafts. Devontae Adams is not going to go for that cheap. He's going to go in the neighborhood of that DeAndre Hopkins price for sure. And you see the current bid on James Conner at $50. I'll wait. I think there's other guys with a much higher ceiling that I'd rather target than a James Conner at the running back position. I've already got Kamara, so I feel good about it. Well, I'm kind of interested to see some of these other running backs and where they rank, so I'm going to switch over to that and kind of scroll down. You see Devonta Freeman, $33, Aaron Jones, $25, PPR James White, 24, Josh Jacobs, 22, Damian Williams, 18. That's interesting. Seeing a Mark Ingram, a Kenyon Drake at $11. I really like Kenyon Drake at $11. I think that's a very good value, especially in PPR. Continuing to scroll down, I'm wondering where Latavius Murray might be as a potential backup to Alvin Kamara. And you keep scrolling down, and you can obviously see that his value can be had for very cheap. Maybe I passed him. Let's go ahead and double check, but we'll scroll down to the Saints, but I think it'll be zero. No, my apologies. $4 for Latavius Murray, but still, that's nothing. That's if you manage those funds, it will be a manageable buy. We'll see. For now, we'll target on actual starting guys, not on bench players. It was just something to think about later on. And let's go back to all positions. You see Antonio Brown went, David Johnson went for $52. I think I can go ahead and get Joe Mixon for good value. Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette. What I'm going to try and do here is, let's see, a guy that I pointed out. I kind of like Kenyon Drake. I think he can be a good flex player for $11. I'm a big fan of that. I'm going to try and get one of these wide receivers here. It's not going to be Odell Beckham. I'm not the biggest Odell Beckham fan this year. So maybe it'll be Juju Smith. We'll see. Let's kind of track this bidding process with Juju Smith, because there is a fall off here after Juju Smith for sure, in my opinion. And you can see the price continue to go up, and kind of unfortunate to see a little bit. Let's see how much funds do we have. We've got $139. Let's see what we'll be able to put together. Kind of weighted off on Juju Smith. I'm going to go ahead and try and target Mike Evans. So, honestly speaking, if this was a standard snake draft, getting Alvin Kamara and then Mike Evans, that's totally in the realm of possibility and how this thing could play out. So just from that perspective, we're kind of staying in the realm of possibility. nothing too crazy so far. I will try and get Joe Mixon. We'll see how that plays out. I do think that could be a difference maker. Travis Kelce just went for 45 bucks. Wowza. But, you're going to pay big money for those top tight ends, especially for Kelce. I am curious to see where some of these other tight ends are at and where the big fall off is. Obviously, after George Kittle, you see almost a $30 drop from Kittle to Ingram. And, wow, after Hunter Henry and OJ Howard, then it's even more of a drastic drop. Jared Cook, $1. That's insane. Vance McDonald, $1. Greg Olsen, $0. Love it. I'm going to go ahead and just get myself Greg Olsen. Let's see how high this bidding process goes for Joe Mixon. So we are at $44. The winning bid would have to be 45. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger right here. Hopefully no one else bids on him. We'll get him for 45 bucks, and to me that is two great RB1s. I think probably at this point in time, getting Kamara and Joe Mixon, possible, unlikely, but if we also get a guy like, Mike Evans, we'll see. We'll see how we'll kind of use the rest of these funds. And I did say I try to be a little bit more aggressive. This might kind of transition to, I guess, a in between conservative and aggressive type of strategy. So we'll see. We'll kind of feel it out as we go. I'm pretty much that's the nice thing with these auction drafts. It really allows you to construct your roster the way you would like. So it's your top-notch guys, the guys that you're highest on by far, and that's going to be reflected in the roster itself. So I'm back on the clock, and I'm going to go ahead and just nominate Mike Evans. That's the guy that we wanted to go with. So let's see this bidding process. I think he is not a bad option. If it gets too high, I'm all right with it. I like a guy in Adam Thielen, especially in PPR as well. Looking at, I think he can be a good wide receiver number one, like I said, mainly in PPR. I'm not worried about it. But right now, the winning bid for Mike Evans, right around 37 bucks. And you can see the computer go up a little bit more for 39 bucks. I'm going to go ahead, and since if it was a standard draft, I might go ahead and try to make a bigger push for Mike Evans, but instead I'll just go ahead and try and land Adam Thielen. That PPR format comes into play here, so I'm okay with that. And then, we saw Damian Williams here a little bit lower on this list than I expected. I definitely think that ranking has to get fixed because all indications are he's going to be the RB1 for the Chiefs, and that's going to be pretty valuable. So getting him at $18, I don't think that's a good indication of where his value during actual draft day will be. Obviously, again, it'll depend from platform to platform. I've messed around with ESPN's and Yahoo's auction drafts and kind of see how they price their players, and there's obviously a difference. Some players they have a lot higher, some players a lot lower. Yahoo, definitely not as high on Todd Gurley as ESPN is. Honestly, I can't wait until the next batch of ESPN player positional ranking updates. I think that's going to be pretty intriguing. It might take a little bit of time. We will see. But for now, we're kind of operating off of these rankings. But again, when it comes down to especially these auction drafts, that's the nice thing. You pretty much switch over to your own personal rankings, and you're allowed to construct that team as you would like to see fit. So let's see. We see Amari Cooper right now kind of going up. Let's kind of look at some of these other players after we drafted Joe Mixon. You see Dalvin Cook. You see Mike Evans. You see Leonard Fournette, 37 bucks. T.Y. Hilton, 40. Nick Chubb, 39. Nothing too crazy. We've gotten into that second round group of players, third round group of players. And like I said before, getting Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon, that's pretty much equivalent to a first and a second round pick. We'll see if we're able to snag Adam Thielen here. He just got nominated. So I think that'll be pretty sweet if we do land him. So the price is going up. It is going up. It is hopefully steadying out here at 34 bucks. As you can see, the computer is winning the bet right now. I'm going to try and get in there. You know what? 36. I'm going to 37, and he's going to 38. Man, go figure. Um, but I need a top-notch wide receiver. I'm going to 39. I'm going to end up winning this at 39. Paid a little bit more than I would have liked. It's all right. I want my top-notch wide receiver, and I believe Adam Thielen can be that. I've got him ranked as a top 10 wide receiver in PPR formats, so I'm okay with paying a couple dollars more here. And we're down to $55 on the budget. This is where it gets to a little bit tight budget management wise. You really have to go after some maybe potential sleepers that you think are going to be steals later on, that these rankings don't have valued correctly. Maybe guys that are going to be later in season difference makers. Maybe some of the rookies, a la David Montgomery. Just to name one for example. So continuing to scroll down, you see David Montgomery there for $12. Tyler Boyd for $12. That's not bad. I think he's gonna be a decent value pick as a wide receiver too. Like I said, I'm gonna target Kenyon Drake as my next player for my flex position. I still need one more wide receiver. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get Julian Edelman. We'll see. Potentially. I'm just trying to think how much money that would leave me later on. So that would put us at $23. Then spend $11 on Kenyon Drake. That would put us at 12. I don't think that's going to be too feasible. I'm not sure. I think we're going to start getting capped afterwards, because you can see the bench is pretty lengthy here, and then obviously the defense and kicker positions. So probably going to have to stay out of the bidding for Julian Edelman, so that we can invest in a better quarterback, in a good combo of wide receiver and flex. So we'll end up doing that. But I do think our first 3 picks were we were aggressive enough when we needed to be, and I think probably again good value if you think about it from the standpoint. Alvin Kamara somewhere between first or fourth pick overall. Then Joe Mixon makes it all the way back to you. Good value. Then getting Adam Thielen. So again, I like the way that is playing out. George Kittle went for $34. Devonta Freeman for $28. That's not a bad value for Devonta Freeman. Julian Edelman for 33, Stephon Diggs for 31, and you can see Damian Williams just got nominated. We'll see if he actually goes up to that $18. And Williams in this scenario will definitely fall under the category of targeting someone that the ESPN rankings have not properly priced, and that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and get him. We'll see if Team Munich will have something to say about it. We'll see if they try and swoop in here right at the last second. But I think we ended up drafting Damian Williams as well. And I know, you look for Damian Williams, his ranking is kind of all over the place, but I'm ready to call him a late second round pick on that Kansas City offense. I do think they're going to take a bit of a step back, but I think it'll be I still think it'll be a very potent, and I'm not going to have enough time to nominate here while I was admiring my Damian Williams pick. So we're just going to have AJ Green get nominated for us. But anyway, like I was trying to say, Damian Williams on the Chiefs, I think in standard snake formats, you're going to see his ranking kind of level out as a late second round, maybe early third round pick. So I do think right now I'm ahead of the game as far as player positional rankings and getting them on my roster from standard compared to an auction draft. We've got Kamara, we've got Mixon, we've got Thielen, and we've got Damian Williams. So I like that. I like that a lot. We'll be able to hopefully get here one of the quarterbacks that I was targeting in a Matt Ryan or an Andrew Luck. I mean, we definitely will be, because I believe their value was $6. That's crazy to me. If I would have liked to pair up Matt Ryan to a Julio or to a Devonta Freeman. So since that likely won't be the case, maybe I'll just go with Andrew Luck. I really like the schedule he has. But either way, I don't think you can go wrong. Carson Wentz might be another dark horse guy that I go after. I think, again, obviously with him, the big thing is, can he stay healthy? But if he does, he just signed that huge extension. I think he can be a very good fantasy option in 2019, Carson Wentz. Last time we saw him play a majority of the season, he was putting up MVP type numbers. So I like the potential value for him there. I'll probably end up, nominating here enough players to kind of round out this roster so you guys can have an idea of, of the core of it, and then maybe get another bench player or so. But that's kind of the nice thing with these auction drafts. A lot of these bench players can be had for relatively very cheap, and depending on how you choose to allocate your funds, you might go into the post draft process with some pretty good names still on the waiver wire and pick them up that way. That's also something to consider. So we'll highlight some of those guys that we'd like to target if we don't get a chance to draft them. And this video goes a little long. These auction drafts can sometimes be longer than the standard drafts, especially especially if you've got multiple people bidding on one player and outbidding each other. But thankfully, we haven't really had that situation here. And as you can see, I'm kind of already capped. I can't bid anything more than, I believe it was like 25, 26 bucks. We can kind of track this along. Yeah, it's right here. Manual bid max 24 bucks. So that is our max we can spend on our next player. So at this point, I'm not going to be, targeting any of these big names here, because the assumption is that we would not be able to land them. But, kind of continuing to scroll down, let's see, we obviously need another wide receiver 2. So looking at some of these names, Kenny Golladay, not a bad option for 15 bucks. We'll see what the situation is when we get there. Tyler Boyd, 12 bucks. I think he can be a nice steal. I'd be all right getting him as my wide receiver 2. Continuing to scroll down, Calvin Ridley for 9 bucks, not a bad deal. Mike Williams, I'm not that high on him in PPR formats, to be honest with you guys. Sterling Shepard for 6 bucks. I am very high on Sterling Shepard, but I'd like to get a still another, maybe more safe wide receiver 2 before I go and try and get Sterling Shepard. So I'm just kind of scrolling down, seeing what names jump out at me. And you're seeing this draft process kind of go along. Alshon Jeffrey, 27. Aaron Jones, 25. Marlon Mack, 25. Derrick Henry, 20. And, so like I said before, some people will choose to wait longer, to go ahead and be a little bit more conservative. So obviously, if you waited longer, you can definitely have these guys and kind of control the bidding process. But I just think there's too much of a drop off. Like if my 2 running backs were Aaron Jones and Marlon Mack compared to Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon, that's night and day in my opinion. So I'm very happy with the way this turned out for now. Emmanuel Sanders, another guy that might potentially be a nice pick depending on how things progress for him coming back from his injury. So that's a name to keep an eye out for. Hardman on the Chiefs as well. I think he could be a late round steal depending on the Tyreek Hill situation. Speaking of Hill, you just saw him go for 22 bucks. Probably another player that the ranking has not quite been updated on by ESPN. Just too many question marks right now. Kind of as we continue to make our way down, we've officially made it into the $0 pricings. So that's pretty indicative of the quality of players there. But I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. It is my turn to nominate a player. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and nominate a quarterback right here. I'm going to go ahead and nominate Andrew Luck. I'm going to go ahead and nominate him, see if I can get him for $6 or something like that. And I should probably click the nominate player button. That'd be a good idea. Yeah. We'll see what his price goes up to. $5. I'll wait a little bit to see if there's any more action until we get under like less than 5 seconds. And if there's not, then I'll go ahead and get him for $6. If that team 9 tries to bid a little bit more, then yeah, I don't care. He can have him for $7. I'll still get Matt Ryan afterwards. Completely fine with it. I'm not gonna get in a bidding war over a quarterback that I think the separation won't be too large from the next best guy. So I'm completely fine with that. And like I said before, Carson Wentz, another guy for $1. I'll take that all day. Now we can maybe instead focus on some of these other players that leaves us a little bit more money to work with for a guy like Kenny Golladay. I think that's not a bad idea for $15. If we can land him, I think that would be really nice. I think he can be, a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. I think by far he is, going to be the top wide receiver option for the Detroit Lions. Marvin Jones might have something to say about that, but I just think Kenny Golladay proved last season that he was a little bit more reliable, a little bit more dangerous, and I think he's going to be the guy to trust in that Detroit passing attack. Hopefully Matthew Stafford kind of gets it together. The Lions historically were so dangerous through the air. Matthew Stafford would be putting up those yards like nobody's business. Kind of took a step back in that department last year. Hopefully they return to that. It'll definitely help all the wide receivers there. So something to go ahead and monitor for the Lions. But I do think Kenny Golladay here will be the next guy nominated. Chris Carson just went for $17. Not a bad value at all. At least I'm expecting Kenny Golladay to get nominated. We'll see if that's actually how this plays out. No, you see David Montgomery get nominated. So it wasn't here, but it was. It'll be probably the next pick. And I'm kind of curious. Just obviously, a lot of these picks have been on auto, so for the most part, of computer drafting. But just kind of for comparison's sake, let's look at some of these other rosters and compare them to the funds that they have left and the players that they got. So you see Team 1, they have Antonio Brown, Brandon Cooks, Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp, and Kerryon Johnson, and kind of the funds that they have spent. They spent big money on Travis Kelce. They got 2 wide receivers from the same team, so that's not advisable. But again, that's what's going to happen when you're drafting via computer. So I'm going to go ahead right now, put in a bid for Kenny Golladay. Like I was saying, I think our roster is definitely a little bit stronger than this Team 1, especially when we get, hopefully, Kenny Golladay right here. Yep, that's exactly what happened. Perfect. So let's continue to compare this next team, Team 2, who is at $19. Le'Veon Bell, Montgomery, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham. That's not a bad combo right there. I like that. Definitely, obviously something you couldn't do on a standard drafting format. So getting Bell and Julio and Odell, you could land 2 out of those 3 guys, but landing all 3, I would say probably definitely not. But that's also the reason why Team 2, their second running back is David Montgomery. So they're gonna have a big fall off at the flex player you would expect, and probably at the tight end position. We'll see. But as you can see, my max bid at this point is $9. So that that's going to be right around the same money for Team 2. Continuing for Team 3, they've got Zeke, Hopkins, Michael Thomas, Hunter Henry. I like that. I like that foursome of players. That's Team 3. They're down to $12. So again, their running backs going to have definitely a drop off. However, and looking at the list of running backs still left, Kenyon Drake, but it's not going to let him. It's not going to let him get that guy. So, sometimes this is definitely aggressive. The computers went real aggressive. Like I said, I was thinking of taking this a little bit more aggressive than what it ended up being, but it's probably somewhere in the middle. Not too aggressive, not too conservative, just right. So I like the roster though. I really do. Going back to our roster with Kamara, Mixon, Thielen, Galladay, and Damian Williams, I think Williams is definitely the X factor there. If uh, if he can reach his ceiling, then he can be a great running back flex player. Let's go to. I kind of just want to compare Team Seven because they have the most amount of money left by far. So let's see um, how that's kind of panned out for them. So they went Chubb, Freeman, Watkins, and more. And yeah, you can obviously see that was very conservative. And I think this by far is the worst roster we've seen. So it's again kind of an endorsement to avoid the conservative strategy. I think this is definitely way too conservative, though. I will say that. So keep that in mind. And let's see, Mark Ingram right now being nominated. We saw Hunter Henry, Sammy Watkins, Lockett, DJ Moore go, and it is our turn to nominate a player. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get Matt Ryan here. Let's do this. We're going to get our guy. We're going to go back to our roster and nominate player again. So to go ahead and start rounding this bad boy out, we're gonna have a starting quarterback who's top five running back, Joe Mixon. I think he will be between top 5 and top 10 running back. Adam Thielen in PPR, he is again right around 9th, 10th, 11th as far as wide receiver production. And as I was talking, I just realized I forgot to bid for Matt Ryan. God damn it! But all right, so this is going to be the Carson Wentz led roster. That's all right. Go figure that's what happens. Got a little bit too excited going through through our actual roster. Kenny Galladay, I think he's not a bad option. Damian Williams, same there. So let's go ahead and queue up a couple players right now. I might just go ahead and draft Deshaun Watson here, honestly. See how this goes. See the price for him. $7. That'll be the winning bid, I think. He'll be dangerous on the ground. Definitely gives you added boost there. But man, I'm just not the biggest Deshaun Watson fan. Forget it. I'm gonna go with either Aaron Rodgers or Carson Wentz. I'm just gonna queue up Carson Wentz. So he is queued up, and then afterwards I'm gonna queue up a tight end as well. And I am a big fan. I've been on record saying Greg Olsen is the guy for me. Let's just go ahead and wait for one more go around for our selection here so we can get another player. And like I said, we're down to $19. So that'll allow us to, after getting a guy like Carson Wentz and Greg Olsen, theoretically you would assume you spend like $3 or $4 on them combined. I'll try and nominate Tyler Boyd. We'll see if we can get him or not. We'll see what happens. This might be a situation where the best move, honestly, might be to go ahead and actually just go for Aaron Rodgers, depending on how you feel. At the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers versus Carson Wentz might be. But I also still see Sterling Shepard. I'm going to go ahead and queue him up as well. I think he will be a good wide receiver too. I'll go ahead and queue up Will Fuller. I think as long as he can stay healthy, obviously that's been the big issue with him so far. Since he's been in the league, he hasn't been able to play a full 16 games. But if he does, I think he obviously is the wide receiver 2 for the Houston Texans, and that can be very valuable. So I've got him queued up. You kind of see the list here with Wentz, Olsen, Shepard, Will Fuller, and definitely. You can go ahead and with the budget I have available, I would be able to maybe not get both Fuller and Shepard, but one of those two guys, and then still comfortably get Wentz, get Olsen. So then that roster looks like Wentz, Kamara, Mixon, Thielen, Galladay, Greg Olsen, Damian Williams, Sterling Shepard chilling out on the bench, and then the rest will probably be auto filled. But let's go ahead. It's all right. And queue up some other players that I think might be good values. So Emmanuel Sanders, I'll go ahead queue him up. I'll go ahead, Latavius Murray. Let me go ahead and find him. Kind of maybe just as a nice backup to Alvin Kamara in case something goes wrong. Go ahead, also get Giovanni Bernard. So let's just go ahead and find those guys. They're going to be dirt cheap. They're going to be, nothing special here. Yeah, Giovanni Bernard, $0. That's nothing. Latavius Murray, Cincinnati Bengals. Let's go to New Orleans Saints. Is he even still available? $4. So we might not be able to get him actually, but we'll definitely be able to get Giovanni Bernard. So I feel good about that. And yeah, I mean that kind of wraps things up here a little bit. So like I said, I promised we will make it back to this go around here. We've got 2 more nominations until we get a chance to nominate our last player, and then you kind of see these this cue board here. I think it's safe to say we're going to get the majority of these players. A lot of them are $0 or $1 values, so keep that in mind. And like I said before, I like the way this roster turned out. If it wasn't for some just mistakes on my end in terms of missing out on a bid while I was looking at some other players, we would have for quarterback put in Matt Ryan, put in Andrew Luck or something like that. So it is what it is. No problem there. I still think it doesn't take away from the core of the roster. As far as the core itself is concerned, I'll give this. Obviously, the wide receivers aren't as strong of a suit as the running backs. So if this was the real thing, and I was drafting every single round, I would go ahead and add some more wide receivers. But again, just for the sake of not making this video any longer than it already is, we're going to go ahead and kind of cut it off here after hopefully getting Carson Wentz for just a single dollar. And 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Welcome to our team, rounding it out pretty nicely. And then, like I said, we will get Greg Olsen here, getting Sterling Shepard afterwards. So that pretty much takes care of that. Let me know what you guys think. Did you appreciate this methodology of drafting? I could have definitely been a little bit more aggressive. I acknowledge that. And our next auction draft, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be aggressive. We're gonna try and get 3 first-round guys on the roster. It's gonna really strap us for cash, no doubts about it. So we're going to be playing the waiting game afterwards a little bit, but it's all right. It'll be a fun exercise. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know your preferred strategy in auction drafts. I'm always excited to discuss that, and any other questions you might have, let me hear it in the comment section. And as always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in future videos.